Netflix?
No!
Is it HBO?
No!
Is it Disney?
No!
Is it Apple TV?
No!
Then it must be Tubi. Tell them they're streaming.
Welcome to Tell Them They're Streaming. Hi, my name is Robert, and sitting beside me is Australian comedian who was on Celebrity Lego Masters. It was a film week. He created a masterpiece from the film Basic Instinct from that scene with Sharon Stone in the interrogation room. He was asked to leave the show. This is Richie, Private Parts Goodacre. I think you were hard done by. I thought your sculpture was amazing, Richie.
You know, I thought it was really good. So, yeah, you know, it's very creative. You know, look, I know it's not the appropriate time slot, but like, you know what, you can teach your kids like, look, not all Lego is basic. Okay, sometimes Lego can be sexy. Now get to bed. All right, you know, this is now Mummy and Daddy's TV show. Okay, you can stick to Bluey and a Coco Melon and whatever the other fuck kids watch these days. I only knew about Coco Melon like the other day when you know, my sister put it on for my nephew to come down. I'm like, okay, that's a thing. I didn't even realize. It took me a while to realize like Netflix Kids is a thing. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. The thing I don't go on anyway.
Coolio. Well, that's some of your week, but has anything else happened in your week you want to talk about?
I mean, that one might be the highlight because I've been I've been struck down by a big flu, not the dreaded C, just yeah. So it's been it's been something. But look, the inside of my house looks pretty good sometimes. You know what I mean? I've been well acquainted with that. I
Oh,
maybe I'll come out with a different, you know, once I get fully over this, I'll come out with a different voice.
well, I hope you survive this podcast, and we totally understand if you have to have a moment at any stage. But yeah, we're heaps glad that you're feeling a bit better. Alrighty, today's movie. The film is, and this was our first Christmas movie, is Black Christmas from 1974. Hang on, here's Christmas.
Hey, my Christmas stuff is outside, but just believe me. Yay.
My sister sent these things in, but I've got a surprise. I'll wear the other one later on in the show. So yeah, Black Christmas from 1974. Yeah, we're going to get into it, but I really love this movie.
Yeah.
Tubi synopsis is sorority sisters are as good as dead when they're stalked by a psychopathic stranger over the Christmas holidays in this influential slasher. IMDb has it's time for Christmas break, and the sorority sisters make plans for the holiday, but the strange anonymous phone calls are beginning to put them on edge. When Claire disappears, they contact the police, who don't express much concern. Meanwhile, Jess is planning to get an abortion, but boyfriend Peter is very much against it. The police finally begin to get concerned when a 13-year-old girl is found dead in the park. They set up a wiretap to the sorority house, but will they be in time to prevent sorority girl death before it actually happens? So, yeah. I love it when a synopsis tells you everything that's happening in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Black Christmas was shot in Toronto during winter of 1973 and 74. The original script was way more graphic with the murder scenes, but Bob Clark, the director, decided to tone it more down and have a more toned version. Apparently, Steve Martin told Olivia Hussey that Black Christmas was one of his all-time favorite films. There you go. Originally, the film was scheduled by NBC to debut on January 28th, 1978, under the title Stranger in the House. January 15, 1978, two female students of Florida State University were murdered by someone who broke into their sorority house. There were three other women attacked. NBC pulled the film from broadcast and it did not go to air to the 15th of May, 1978. By the way, that murderer was identified as Ted Bundy.
Oh shit! No, I mean that's not cool, but you know what I mean.
Mm.
Probably bad choice of words, but interesting is what I meant.
Yes. It's, when I read it, I went, oh, geez, yeah. It was known as a slasher film, though Bob Clark considered it to be a psychological horror. It has been said the film is based on a series of murders that took place in Montreal, Quebec, around Christmas time. The killer was Wayne Bowden, who was better known as the vampire rapist. The other inspirations came from the urban legend known as the babysitter and the man upstairs. It's about a teenage girl babysitter who receives telephone calls from a stalker who continually asks her to check the children. It is believed that the whole urban legend came from the murder of a teenage babysitter named Janet Christman, which is almost Christmas, in the 1950s. The demented phone calls was edited in post. The female actors were reacting to Bob Clark on the other end of the phone. This film has reached a cult status, though originally it was a flop with bad reviews. The original film title was Stop Me. Bob Clark came up with the title Black Christmas, which apparently references the 1954 film White Christmas. Apparently, Olivia... Sorry?
Stop Me would be a bad title. I don't even know why it wouldn't fit. Anyway.
Apparently, Olivia Hussey was told by a psychic to take the role. Distributors thought that the people may think Black Christmas might be mistaken for a blaxploitation flick. So they changed the name to Silent Night, Evil Night. It unfortunately did worse under that title, so they changed it back to Black Christmas. Composer Carl Zitter said he tried forks, combs, and knives to the strings of his piano, then struck the keys to get a sound that would warp. There is also a legend that Elvis Presley loved this film and would watch it every Christmas. This would have only been for 3 years, though, because he passed away. But the legend apparently continues with his family, and they kept on watching the film each Christmas after his passing. According to Bob Clark, Margot Kidder was actually drunk in the scenes where she was drinking. The actors apparently wore their own clothes to keep the budget down. Bob Clark always believed his female characters should be not sexualized. He wanted them to come off as real people. The film is set in Bedford, which is a homage to It's a Wonderful Life from 1946. The C word was originally cut out of the UK release. Andrea Martin was the only cast member to return for the 2006 remake. The film was shot in 40 days. I like this bit. I got a few horror connections with the actors, Richie. There's Olivia Hussey, who was in It, the TV movie in 1990. John Saxton was, of course, in Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. Art Hinckley was in Invasions of the Body Snatchers from 1978. And Margot Kidder has two. She was in Sisters in 1972 before Black Christmas. And then after Black Christmas, she was in the quite famous Amityville Horror in 1979. It's Me, Billy from 2021 is the unofficial direct fan-made sequel. I watched it. It's actually really good. You can find it on YouTube. They uploaded it to YouTube. So go and check it out after you've seen Black Christmas. Paul Downey of Bloody Flicks and Dave Hastings published a non-fiction book called It's Billy, Black Christmas Revisited in 2022. It's an account of the original film with interviews by surviving members. This was Martha Gibson's debut film. John Saxton was hired at last minute to replace Edmund O'Brien, who was unfortunately suffering with symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. Bob Clark began to work on a sequel before his tragic passing away in a car crash due to a drunk driver in 2007. There are occasional shadows in the background in this film, and I believe these are supposed to be Billy, but you need to have a keen eye. So when watching it, watching the background a bit. According to Bob Clark, the story of Billy was he was abused as a child, locked in an attic, and eventually killed his parents. The Angus he kept referring to was the Angus that he kept referring to was his little sister, whom he tried to kill, but she escaped, giving Billy the dislike of girls. It is believed that John Carpenter wondered what a sequel to Black Christmas would look like. Out of these thinkings came his own film, little one you might not have heard of before, Halloween 1978. Their body count was 8 people, and the very end of the phone rings 13 times, which I thought was a pretty cool statistic, 13. The film was the highest grossing Canadian film, the third highest grossing Canadian film of all time in Canada, behind The Apprentice of Dudley Kravets in 1974 and Two Women in Gold in 1970. I've got some reviews here, but I'll try to go through them quite quickly. A.H. Weiner of the New York Times. And I spent ages to find out if this was the same Weiner who got in trouble in politics a number of years back for sending a Weiner pic. But
oh yeah, I know you're talking about. That's Anthony Weiner.
Yeah, because when I typed in A.H. Weiner into Google and New York Times, the only thing that came up was him. But there's different people. A whodunit that raises the question as to why was it made? Variety. A bloody senseless kill for kicks feature that exploits unnecessary violence in a university sorority house operated by an implausible alcohol ex-hoofer. Its slow-paced, murky tale involves an obscene telephone caller who apparently delights in killing girls off one by one, even the hapless house mother. Gene Siski, I was going to say Snisky.
Okay, all right. That's all right.
Gene Slisley from the Chicago Tribune gave it 1.5 stars out of 4. Routine shocker that is notable only for including the kind of junk roles that talented actresses are forced to play in the movies. TV Guide, on the other hand, gave it 3 out of 4. Although strictly standard fare, the material is elevated somewhat through Clark's skillful handling of such plot devices as obscene phone calls from a killer to the girls via the upstairs phone. Oh, spoiler alert. And a nicely handled twist ending, which provides a genius shock. A couple more things just quickly. In the USA, Scream Factory released a collector's edition Blu-ray on the 13th of December 2016 with a new transfer and new extras, also containing extras from the previous releases. The Canadian Film Awards, it won in 1975 for Best Sound Editing in a Feature by Kenneth Healy-Rae. It also won Best Performance by a Lead Actress, which was Margot Kidder, and it was also a nominee for Best Feature Film. There is 3 remakes of Black Christmas. There's Black Christmas 2006, Black Christmas 2019, and Black Christmas 2021. Well, let's now have a look at the director and the cast. The director is Bob Clark. He did a film called The Karate Dog from 2005. The writer is Roy Moore, and he wrote a film called The Last Chance in 1981. Looking at the cast, Olivia Hussey, and I chose this film because it's an Ozploitation film. She was in a very bad Ozploitation film called Turkey Shoot from 1982. And in that film, she was asked to do a nude scene and she refused, which is fair enough. But what happened is they got a woman to be her body double that looked completely different to her, way bigger and everything. But anyway, that's another story. Kira Dalla from one of the most incredible films of all time, 2001: A Space Odyssey, 1968. Margot Kidder was in Superman, 1978. John Saxton was in From Dusk Till Dawn from 1996. And last but not least, Marianne Waldman. She was in Phobia, but unfortunately, this was her last film. She passed away not long after that in 1980.
Was she the maid or whatever?
She was the house mother. Yeah,
the house mother. Yeah.
So it's now time for film chat.
I will before I just like so that would have made it interesting. Like you said, Bob Clark wanted to direct a sequel, but died in a car accident in 2007. That would have made things That would have made things confusing, considering there was a remake that came out in 2006. So
I think he died in 2007. I think he was working on the sequel before that.
Okay,
but he never got to make it because he died.
So instead of like out of respect, if we're gonna we won't make do a remake for a while. Like we'll just go ahead and do a remake. Okay, that seems a bit tone deaf, but cool.
It does. Yeah. Anyway, now can I just mention that one of our listeners or watchers or can we use the word fan? I don't like to use that. It sounds too pretentious, but
you know what? We have fans. Let's just accept it. Fans.
Well, they're on my OnlyFans page, so I guess I can call them fans. She's made up some lovely little things that we can put up for film chat and the Wheel of Tubi Cheese and a few other little things. So thank you. Fiona is her name. Thank you so much for doing all that for us and sending them in. It's really good. All right, film chat.
Film chat.
This starts with a POV shot walking up the stairs of the sorority house. Very similar to the beginning of Halloween, 1978, Richie.
Yeah. No, I did have those vibes when I saw it, yeah.
It's no secret that Carpenter was a huge fan of this film, and I reckon it's probably a direct homage from this to that. We meet Barb, Margot Kidder, asking people at the Christmas party at the sorority house who left the front door open. Our POV man climbs up some lattice work and climbs through a window to enter the attic. The party ends, and people who don't live there go home. He, the POV man, climbs down the ladder where he spies on Barb on the phone. The phone rings.
Hello?
And Jess, played by Olivia Hussey, answers it, and she shouts out to the other housemates, "It's him again, the moaner." They all come out and listen with very strange noises coming out of the phone. Then some very obscene and sexual abuse type talk. This is where the C word was. What was that, Richie?
That's what I just was saying what you were saying.
Oh, okay.
That's
cool.
where the C word comes in.
And the very end of the phone call, he's talking in a normal voice and says, "I'm going to kill you." Got any other comments on that phone call? Because that was pretty full on, dude.
It's pretty full on, yeah, especially for I don't know. I feel in general, maybe, because it's like this movie so influential and maybe was it broke some ground at the time. People weren't ready for a film like this, and that's what, So it's it's sort of probably one of the first slasher movies, or one of the big scale sort of slasher movies. So the idea of seeing, especially it's mostly women, so seeing women getting murdered, stabbed, when we'll get to other ways, but it's like a bit too confronting, and it could probably disgust some people. But once that sort of, I think once that sort of this sort of became its own they created their own subgenre, and other movies like Halloween and Friday the 13th came out, I think people learned to, kind of learn to like it. That's probably why. And yeah, like you don't. I feel like even back there wasn't a lot of not a huge amount of swearing in films. I mean, in general, let alone the C word. Like you don't hear the C word in films that much, especially like I find it interesting that like UK
Mm.
edited out the C word when they use it far more often than Americans do.
Well, apparently in Australia they ask actually for more C words in it. So
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
Um, there's also some conjecture about being a first slasher with everything to do with film. And a lot of people put Psycho down as a slasher. I don't know if you would agree. And also Peeping Tom, which were both from the early 60s.
Yeah, I'd have to think about the Psycho. I feel like it's more, like yeah. I mean, spoiler alert, only like two people die, and it's not like, I don't know. I feel like it's more of a psychological horror. But
Mm.
anyway,
Right. Well, Mrs. McHenry, who's the house mother, Marion Walden, comes home where the girls have a present for her. While this is going on, Claire, played by Lynn Griffin, goes upstairs to pack. She becomes our first victim. The POV man is hiding in the closet, suffocates Claire with a dress off a plastic, with a dress plastic bag. So plastic bag around a dress. He then carries Claire up to the attic and puts her in an old rocking chair. I don't know if this might be a nod to Psycho Richie.
it could be
Not Psycho Richie. It might be a nod to
Psycho,
Psycho 1960.
Psycho, comma Richie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was sort of like I think that you can see like there's alternate covers for the movie with like that image on it. It's a very very confronting, striking sort of image, and like they go back to it multiple times throughout the film because
Mm,
they don't. It takes them a long time to realize that she's up there, and
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty freaky. Miss McHenry has booze hidden in a book.
This is great.
I've got another one coming up in a second that I want you to talk on. Um,
Uh, I guess I could talk on it when the thing. I just feel like because she went. Well, what did she say? She had it under a certain letter. Did she say
B for
was it A?
booze.
B for booze. I
Yes.
wanted her to keep going to kind of drive home how much of an alcoholic she was. So, like in another book, A for alcohol, A, and then all right, and then grab another book. Oh, G for grog.
Oh, look, there's W. That's for whiskey.
That's for whiskey.
This is a game. We should make this into a game. But anyway.
Then grab another book. Oh, piss. P.
All right. I just want to play that game now. Jess gets a call from her boyfriend Peter, who's played by Kira Doolan. Jess tells him that they need to talk and plan to meet up the next day. This is just weird as Mrs. McHenry is cleaning her teeth when she gets some booze out of the tank of the top of the toilet and begins to wash the toothpaste out with it. What the serious F? Isn't that just a waste of alcohol?
You'd think for an alcoholic that'd be waste of alcohol. Like I did have to, obviously she needed help or whatever, but I did admire the ingenuity of that of how she snuck alcohol in there. To be honest, I gotta be honest. I know like she hasn't had as big of a role as the other ones, other people in this cast. She was my favorite character. I thought she was great.
No, she was great. And there's a couple of other people I've got mentioning coming up that I really liked as well. We see Claire rocking in the rocking chair with the plastic bag around her head. Claire's father goes to the sorority house to find out why Claire was not waiting to be picked up outside the college. Mr. Harrison, played by James Edmund, is told that they think Claire has packed and gone out to meet him. Mr. Harrison was another favorite character of mine. He played it so dull. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, I liked him.
As Mr. Harrison leaves, we see another shot of his dead daughter in the attic. Jess and Peter get into an argument after she tells him she is pregnant, does not want to keep it.
Hello?
The phone rings and Jess picks it up. It's the Mona again, but we find out that his name is Billy. And Billy's played by Nick Manikos.
Also, another maybe if we were going on the homage thing, could the person's name is Billy? Could the killer in Scream is Billy? Is that obviously another homage to this film?
Oh, it might very well be. That's a good point. Yeah. Mrs. Harrison and Mr. Harrison and the sorority girls go to the police and tell them about Claire's disappearance. Sergeant Nash, played by Doug McGrath, does not take it very seriously. Sergeant Nash asks Barb, what is the phone number at the sorority house? And
Yeah, sure. It's Fellatio 20880.
which obviously Sergeant Nash doesn't know what that means.
That says a lot about him and his other life, I guess. Yeah, it did take him a while to catch on.
There should be just a whole TV series just about that dude.
Yeah.
Jess finds Claire's boyfriend, Chris, Art Hindle, and tells him Claire is missing and the police have not taken it seriously. Jess and Chris go to the police station where Chris talks to Lieutenant Fuller, played by the amazing John Saxton, and asks him, why is the police not taking Claire's disappearance more seriously? Peter does not go well at the piano recital, and I think it's because he cannot get what Jess said to him out of his head. And you know what? Whenever I go really bad at a piano recital, I smash the piano up just like Peter did.
Yeah. No red flags there at all. Like, no, you're fine. Yeah. You know, like, if anything, right? If I was at a piano recital and I went, if I smashed the key, if I got like, I don't know, like a fucking mallet or something, right? And then just started to bash in the keys, you're not going to remember who won. You're going to remember me, and I'll be on YouTube, and I'll be the one getting the interview. So I'll call you won a piano recital. No one cares. Okay. Look.
Yeah, this week we've got Pete, the piano crusher.
That's very specific. That's a good 80s wrestler who's very specific. The piano crusher.
Mr. Harrison, Jess, Chris, and Phil, played by Andrea Martin, head off to the police organised search for Claire at the park from the sorority house. Though just before they go, Mrs. McHenry tells Phil that she is heading to her sister's place, and so she might be not home when they get back. Mrs. McHenry is our second victim. Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, 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 bum.
When she goes to the attic searching for her cat, can you remember what her cat's name was?
Claude.
Claude.
Which again, if we're doing horror homages, could that be a reference to Claude Rains?
Yeah, who played the Invisible Man and plenty of other good horror roles. So very possibly, yeah. And is stabbed and hung with a metal hook. The voice of the killer is starting to sound a little bit very much like Billy. So maybe we're thinking the killer is doing the killing is also Billy, but you know, I'm not really sure yet. Booyah. Well, the phone rings and Jess picks up. It's Billy in a distorted voice, and he says, "Please stop me. Please help me." Jess calls the police to report the phone call when Peter mysteriously walks down the stairs at the sorority house and scares Jess. What was Peter doing there, and how did he get in where Mrs. McHenry? Oh, sorry, where is Mrs. McHenry? Jess rejects Peter's offer in marriage. Lieutenant Fuller goes to ring the sorority house and sees what the phone number Sergeant Nash has put down.
What's this? Well, that's the number at the sorority house. Fellatio? Yeah, it's a new exchange. FE. No exchange? Yeah, Felicia. One of the girls that was in this afternoon gave it to me.
She gave it to you.
Yeah.
Nash, I don't think you could pick your nose without written instructions.
I know. Something dirty, ain't it?
Did you have something to say there?
Oh yeah, yeah. But no, a funny, it sort of brought levity, or a light moment in a slasher film, and I thought it was funny. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, or, he's like, I don't know what that. He said something that made it sound like a sexual reference, like I don't like, but he didn't realize he made it. So tell me what it was. Yeah.
I know the director did want there to be humor in the film, and it does pop up every now and then. I mean, with the house mother and her drinking is quite funny, and Margot Kidder going off when she's being drunk and stuff like that. Peter tells Jess if she goes through with her plans, that she will be very sorry. Lieutenant Fuller goes to the sorority house and puts a tap on the phones. Mrs. McHenry has a phone in her room, but it's a different number, and Billy never rings on that one. Barb becomes the third victim when stabbed by a glass ornament of a unicorn with a pointy bit. We also find out here that Billy is the killer. The phone rings.
Hello?
Jess answers it. Billy with a weird mixture of male and female voices. Lieutenant Fuller rings Jess and says she needs to keep Billy on the line longer to get a trace. He also questions her about Peter. So now Peter is becoming a possibility to be Billy. So this is all brilliantly done. This is all these sort of things we're not sure about. Phil tells Jess that she is suspicious about Peter. Jess tells Phil that Billy repeated everything that Peter said to her tonight. The plot thickens. Peter rings Jess. Peter is in tears about her decision but the phone call is not long enough to trace. Lieutenant Fuller rings Jess and questions her about Peter, though look in the background and there's a shadow listening through the door. Jess believes that Billy is not Peter because he was there when she got one of the phone calls from Billy. Phil checks on Barb and the door slams behind her. The phone rings and...
Hello?
You pig.
Jess picks it up. It's Billy. The police trace the call and it's coming from the sorority house.
What is it?
A phone company's on the other line, sir. They say they got a trace on this one.
Yeah, let's have it.
He says the calls are coming from number 6 Belmont Street.
For Christ's sakes, Nash, you got it wrong. That's where the calls are going into.
That's where they're coming from, too, sir.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no, Miss
Coming from
McHenry's
inside the
private
house.
phone. What was that?
Coming from inside the house.
This phone call is coming from inside the house. Which was also famously used when a stranger calls. And
Yeah.
I think Scream sort of used it as well. That very thing.
Yeah. There's actually a movie on Netflix called it's coming from inside the house or something to that effect. So yeah, it came out last year. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Lieutenant Fuller calls Officer Jennings, played by Julian Reed, who is in the car outside the sorority house, but Officer Jennings has had his throat cut. Jess can't find Phil. We guess Billy has got her. Sergeant Nash calls Jess and tells her to get out of the house because the calls are coming from the inside of the house. Jess goes upstairs with a fire stoker as a weapon to search for Barb and Phil. She finds them both, all cut up and dead in Barb's bed. Jess sees Billy's eyes through a crack in the door and slams the door on him. She runs downstairs to escape through the front door. Billy gets to her before she can go out by grabbing onto her hair. She escapes with him and locks herself in the basement where Billy is banging on the door and trying to get in.
I think we should probably point out that like that. Yeah, like I think initially he was advised, the lieutenant, whatever, was advised, don't tell her why you want her outside the house, just do it. But then she kept going, oh well, I'll get Bob, and it's like no, he's like, oh, okay, fuck it, yeah. Look, yeah, it's coming from it's coming from inside the house, so yeah, which kind of prompted her to investigate instead of going outside. Yeah.
He definitely played the dopey policeman.
Yeah.
Jess sees a shadow at the basement window. She thinks it's Billy. It turns out to be Peter. Is Peter Billy? Jess is now not sure. Peter smashes the window and gets into the basement. Jess hides from him. Lieutenant Fuller and the police arrive at the sorority house where they go to the basement and find Peter with his head smashed open, probably by Jess, laying in Jess's lap. The police think it's Peter with Jess. Jess was unconscious from shock. Sorry, she's okay, but unconscious from shock. The camera glides from one room to another at the sorority house with a sinister music. We also hear laughing, humming, and singing. The camera pans to the attic. In the attic, we see the dead Mrs. McHenry and hear her voice say, "Hey, miss, it's Billy." The camera pans out of the window where we also see Claire's dead body. A long shot of the house when we can hear the phone ringing. It's a very chilling film. In conclusion, we never really see Billy. We don't know what happened to Jess after she was unconscious in the sorority house. We don't know what happened to Chris. We also don't really know who Billy is. We saw the dead body of Peter, so it can't be him, or could it? All right, Richie, it's time for scores and thoughts and everything else that goes along with it.
Yeah, this was a very well-made movie. I knew it came with quite the acclaim. So yeah, I had high expectations, and I think they were met. I really enjoyed the film. Yeah, it was an easy watch, and yeah, you can see where other slashers drew inspiration from this film, and yeah, I think it's a very important film. I really enjoyed it. So I mean, on like a Tubi level though, I have to go on the lower side because it's very competently made. It's well acted by everyone involved. Special effects when there wasn't much to say, but they were good. It was well shot. Hang on. And when you're trying to hold in a cough, it sounds like you're about to cry. And no, I just caught up in all the emotion of this movie. Yeah. But yeah, so as a Tubi score, probably almost give it 1 because it's the anti-Tubi movie ever. But as a the overall film, I honestly really liked it. I'll give it 4.5.
Wow, incredible score. I think the film needs to be watched a couple of times, more than one watch, to fully appreciate it. I was able to watch it twice, and my second watch had me understanding and seeing the true brilliance of the film more so than with my first. A lot of critics hated the ending but I actually really loved it because I can make up my own mind of how it ends and who is the killer and do we actually even know the killer. I still do you think it could be Peter, even though he was dead at the end?
Yeah, I mean, but also like I guess we assume we assume he's dead.
Mm. Well, I mean, the thing is
Uh,
maybe what we could hear at the end, the voice, because we never saw Billy again. We just heard a voice, but that
yeah,
voice might not necessarily be anything but, you know, just noises in a way or something. I don't know. It's really
yeah.
good. I won't say too much more. Go and watch it and let us know what you think. I give it a 2 out of 5 Tubi store or score. Yeah, it's probably too good to be and too well made to be in the Tubi, but there's still enough tubiness in the film with some cheesy moments and some lovely scares. But I do give it a normal score of 4.5. A really well made slasher film that I think everybody should give it a go once to watch. Well said, Richie.
Thank you.
Alrighty, let's get quizzical.
Quizzical. I'll try and sing this time, but I might cough.
Let's
In the
get
meantime,
quizzical.
let's get quizzical.
I want to
Quizzical.
get quizzical without coughing. Let me hear your quizzy talk.
Quizzy talk. Let me hear quizzy talk because I'd rather someone talk for me at the moment. Da 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 da.
Well, Richie, Quentin
Yeah.
Tarantino is a big fan of Black Christmas. And this film would have been a grindhouse film because it was that slasher style movie that would have gone into the grindhouses in America. What is a grindhouse? Well, Wikipedia says a grindhouse is an American term for a theater that mainly shows low budget horror, splatter, or exploitation films for adults. According to historian David Church, this theater type was named after the grind policy, a film programming strategy dating back to the early 1920s, which continuously showed films at a cut rate ticket price that typically rose over the course of each day. The reason I mentioned Quentin Tarantino is because we're going to have a look at what are Quentin Tarantino's favorite grindhouse films. I found this list from a website called the Grindhouse Cinema Database. I also follow them on Facebook. They're great. Go and check them out. Their website is grindhousedatabase.com. Go and look at them there. They got some really good stuff on there. The quiz today is this a favorite grindhouse film from Quentin Tarantino, or is it one I have made up? The quiz is called QT favorite film, or QT, meaning me, made up film. So you've got to call me QT throughout this section, Richie.
That's the whole reason you want to do it, right? This is just white noise. You got me, Marge won't matter.
Oh no. You're not gonna have to speak out after this, are you?
Oh, look. I mean, it's not a podcast. I got enough evidence.
That's a good point. Alrighty. So which film is Quentin Tarantino's favorite grindhouse film? And which one did I make up, not he? There was a list of 20. I'm only doing 10 of them, so they're not in any order. I just grabbed them from all over the place and so forth. Okay, number 1 is The Miracle of Crime from 1976 or The Pom Pom Girls from 1976. Which one of those is a true grindhouse film that Quentin loves?
That's the Pom Pom Girls.
You picked that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. Well done. Number 2, The Savage 7 from 1968 or The Unforgiving Fire from 1968?
Savage 7.
The Savage 7 is what you're going for. The Savage 7, 1968 is correct. Well done. Number 3, Heroes Don't Sleep from 1970 or The Chinese Boxer from 1970?
I feel like heroes should sleep. I don't feel like that's 9 out of 10 doctors don't recommend that.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I
Heroes
mean?
Don't Sleep from 1970. Yeah, I know doctors
Mhm.
don't recommend, but heroes don't have time to sleep. Or is it the Chinese Boxer from 1970?
Um, Chinese boxer.
Correct. It's the Chinese Boxer from 1970. 3 out of 3 so far. Richie. Okay, number 4. The Girl from Starship Venus from 1975. Or is it The Masters of Space Crime 1975? The Girl from Spaceship Venus 1975 or The Masters of Space Crime 1975?
I'm gonna go the girls with Spaceship Venus and hope Bananarama did the theme song.
Okay, so that's the one you think QT is his favorite and is a film.
Yeah.
Correct. 4 out of 4. The Girl from Starship Venus from 1975 is the film. Now, I am putting up pictures. Just remember, sometimes with these films, sometimes the titles are different. If they're different, that's the reason why. Number 5, because you got 4 out of 4 so far. So number 5, Rolling Thunder, 1977, or Zombie Trouble, 1977. Rolling Thunder, 1977, or Zombie Trouble, 1977.
I'll go Rolling Thunder.
5 out of 5. Rolling Thunder from 1977 is a film and is on Quentin Tarantino's list of favorite grindhouse films. You've never got 10 out of 10, so Richie, this might be a moment in time.
You're gonna jinx me now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Number 6, The Psychic from 1977, or or Truck Stop Teens from 1977.
Just tell me Truck Stop Teens. Come on.
You're going to go Truck Stop Teens from 1977. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Oh God, see?
I made up Truck Stop Teens from 1977, and the real film was The Psychic from 1977.
Okay.
Number 7,
Ooh.
Paula Does Not Live Here, 1973, or Wipeout, 1973.
I feel like I've heard of Paula doesn't live here.
Does not live here.
Does not live here, so I'll go that.
Incorrect. I made up
So I haven't
Paula
heard
Does
of it.
Not Live Here. No, you've heard of something similar, but it's not Paula.
That Alice doesn't go?
Yes, which was a Martin Scorsese film. Yeah, but no, Wipeout is the right one. It had a heap of different names too, but Wipeout was the one I could find the poster for from 1973. Number 8, The Mac from 1973, or Blood Swords from 1973. I mean, they didn't have Mac computers back in 1973, did they?
No. They had McDonald's though.
They did.
That's cough language for the Mac.
So you're going for The Mac, 1973? Yeah. You are correct. Yeah. I made up Blood Swords from 1973, and the film is The Mac from 1973. Number 9. Sorry.
Is a sequel called Return of the Mac? Love the Mac. Yeah, anyway.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't a Mac a truck? Is that what that is? I thought like a truck, like there's a Mac truck. I don't know.
Mac truck? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Number 9, Masters of the Flying Guillotine from 1976, or Yakuza versus the Triads in 1976. Is it Master of the Flying Guillotine, 1976, or Yakuza's versus the Triads in 1976?
Masters of the... Is it Giant Guillotine?
The Flying Guillotine.
Flying Guillotine. Masters of the Flying Guillotine.
1976?
Yeah.
You are correct. I thought it was pretty cool that I came up Yakuza's versus Triads, and I thought,
yeah,
shit, I really like to see that film. I'll have to make it. Masters of the Flying Guillotine from 1976 is correct. It has Jimmy Woo in it. And I actually own that film. So there you go.
Hmm.
The final one, Shaolin Monks of Death from 1972 or King Boxer from 1972. That is Shaolin's Monks of Death, 1972, or King Boxer from 1972.
I'll just go King Boxer.
Is correct. It is King Boxer from 1972. I own this one as well. So, yeah. All right, just quickly, I'll go through some of the other Quentin Tarantino films on the list. Not Quentin Tarantino films, grindhouse films that Quentin Tarantino really likes. Suspiria from 1977. Thriller from 1973. The Lady in Red, 1979. The Street Fighter, 1974. The Last House on the Left, 1972. Coffee from 1973. Halloween from 1978. Night of the Living Dead, 1968. Dawn of the Dead, 1978. And the Texas Chainsaw. I was going to say the Texas Chainsaw Mascara. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974.
I don't know how that mascara would pass health inspections, Theo.
Do you know where I got that from?
The mascara thing, or
Yeah, it was said in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, where Guy, what's his name? Guy Pearce goes into a video store or something and says, "Can I hire out the Texas Chainsaw Mascara?" So anyway, alrighty. It's now time to spin the wheel of Chubby Cheese. Well, there's the new graphic for spinning the wheel of Chubby Cheese. A big thank you to one of our listeners, Fiona, for making that up for us. We really appreciate it. And you probably notice I'm wearing a Christmas hat because it's only a couple of weeks away now. And I've got to thank my sister who dropped these off the other day, says, wear this for the podcast. So there you go. My beautiful sister, I'm wearing them. We don't have to spin it because we only got one left. We had 2 Christmas movies and we got Silent Night, Deadly Night from 1984. I never thought about actually looking up Tubi to see what the synopsis and everything is. But as we're chatting, I'll quickly have a look-see. Have you got any Christmas shirts or anything you can wear for our big Christmas episode next week?
I do actually. I think I can find one.
You've already worn your Batman one.
I've worn, yeah. Well, it's funny. I've got a Batman one or a Batman one. I got 2 Batman ones.
Okay. Silent Night, Deadly Night. A little boy learns that Santa punishes the naughty after he witnesses his parents get murdered. As an adult, he relives his trauma. Starring Lillian Chubin, Gilmer McCormack, Tony Nero, Robert Brian Wilson, Britt Leach, and it's directed by Charles E. Seller Jr. So we've got that to look forward to next week.
And I've heard good things. I mean, I've heard good things in the sense that it's very to be appropriate. Hang on, let me do that again. Very to be appropriate.
I noticed also on the Tubi site, the Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 on there.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I know a lot about Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, but the things I know I probably shouldn't reveal until we watch the first one.
All right, mate. Plugs and stuff.
Yeah. You can find tell them they're streaming on Facebook. Just go tell them. So I've been telling them they're streaming. M being EM, and then space THEY VRE, and streaming STREAMING.
Congratulations. You did all that with having the flu. Well done.
I know it's weird that I did better when I had the flu than I would if I was I have done when I'm healthy. It's maybe I should just
Just
have
stay
the flu more
fluey.
often. Just stay fluey. You know, there's you know we all hear bad stuff about the flu, but where's the positives? You know, yeah, it's just the media trying to fearmonger you, like, oh, you don't want the flu, yes you do. Yeah, so you got that. Yeah, give us a like. You find us on YouTube, and then hit the bell notification to get notified when we upload an episode. Oh, when do we upload an episode, Richie? Oh, good question.
Hang on. Hey, Richie, when do we load up episodes?
Oh, yeah, good question, Robert. But also me who asked it too.
Yeah, and Cutie, I think my name is, but yeah.
Oh,
Santa Cutie.
Santa Cutie. Yeah. Cool. I did not say that under duress. And yeah, so yeah, you can, yeah. Oh yeah, so and that plus me a bit. You could, yeah, that uploads every Tuesday, or should I say Tubes Day. Anyway,
And it's
yeah,
of course it's on Facebook as well that evening as well, isn't it, Richie? Most times.
yeah, it's uploaded to Facebook. Yeah, and then
I was
yeah,
teasing you, by the way.
you can go to, if you want to send suggestions for future episodes, or if you just want to like go say, hey, we like you. Oh, I don't know, maybe you're hovering around the computer with a family. Yeah, like, we like you. No, but yeah, we got a Gmail account, which I believe is just tell them they're streaming at gmail.com. And yeah, I mean, as far as what's going on to me personally, oh, you know, I'm on you know, the Movie Hero Network a lot, doing tournament fights and tier ranker. I'm part of a sort of ongoing wrestling trivia tournament called Clash of the Combatants on the Combat Wrestling Trivia page. You can, well, the Combat Wrestling Trivia League, basically, but yeah, you can find that on Chris Cass's Twitch, which I believe is Castifer. Yeah, and you can find me doing all other aspects of trivia, Full Metal trivia, and all these other leagues as well. That should be fun. Yeah, hit me up on Facebook to keep up to date with my my comedy and
Comedy.
and my general whereabouts and not general
I'm
whereabouts.
currently in the toilet. Hashtag just saying.
This is a big one, Richie at toilet.
I'm having a shower. Look, no makeup.
I'm having a shower. Norman Bates likes this.
Alrighty, Richie. Now it's time to do an impression on your shirt. Now, what I can see is it says Steen Wolf. Is that the great Kevin Steen we're talking about?
Yes.
And is that a play on the words Teen Wolf?
Yeah. So which one do you want me to do? There's two things going on here.
Well, did he actually ever do the character as Steen Wolf, or it's just a joke T-shirt?
It's just a pun.
Yeah, well, I know it's a pun, but is it just a T-shirt, or did he ever?
It's just a T-shirt.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. What would you like to do? Do you want to do Kevin Steen as a Teen Wolf? There you go. You can do that. You're doing Kevin Steen as a Teen Wolf. Steen Wolf, I should say.
Oh yeah, I'm Kevin Owens. Yeah, and until next time, to be continued. Ooh. I feel like because of my flu, I sound like a wolf going through puberty. But,
Excellent.
A high school girl's been murdered. Mr. Harrison's daughter is missing. And now at the house where she lives, the other girls are getting obscene phone calls.
Yeah, what I've done is I've tapped his phone so that when it rings, it'll ring at the station house, too.
There was a little girl murdered over in the park tonight. Yes, I heard. Your phone's ringing. Hello?
Hey, Mommy. There's a baby. Baby, all right, Mom.
Hello? Who's there?
I know you're there, now, Stevie. You answer me, it's me. Mommy. Come here.
Where's Agnes?
You won't.
What are you doing?
This is Graham. It's group 140, terminal 55.
Remember those idyllic scenes out of your childhood? Crisp winter nights, star bright, sleigh bells, crackling Yule logs, candlelight glistening off of shimmering Christmas trees, chestnuts roasting over open fires, carolers beneath snow-covered window ledges. Remember those. Remember them well. After Black Christmas, they'll never be the same again. Black Christmas, starring Olivia Hussey, Keir Dullea, Margot Kidder, and starring John Saxon as Lieutenant Fuller. If this movie doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight.
Something's been bothering me, though. And it always has since my grandma told me. The cops said Peter did it. And for years, my grandma said the same, but I think she started to have doubts.
So, do you think the killer's still out there?
Closed case. But the way she used to describe those calls,